Hi, my name is Diego Alfonso and welcome to the Psychology of the Checkride. This is the first video of a series called Flight Training Missing Links, specifically designed to help pilots pass the oral test and flight check required by the FAA's practical test standards. Additionally, these videos will help you to increase your aviation knowledge and proficiency, as well as your confidence as a pilot. The reason for these videos is my firm conviction that pilots should not fail any check ride. And here is why. The flight instructor should recommend the pilot only when both of them agree that a level of performance exceeding the acceptable standards of knowledge and proficiency has been demonstrated during training. This almost assures passing the check ride with flying colors. However, this is not always the case. This statement brings up four important questions. Number one, why the pilot failed to answer questions or failed to perform certain procedures or maneuvers within acceptable standards the day of the check ride, even though they were knowledgeable and proficient. Number two, why when the pilot returned for the recheck, usually within a day or two, the additional ground or flight training time was minimal, most of the times an hour or less. Number three, why the overwhelming majority of pilots passed the second time around, even with minimal additional instruction. And the last and most important question, which I consider to be the $64 billion question is, did the pilot learn what was required in the additional training time, or there was something else preventing the pilot from exhibiting the knowledge and or the proficiency that was in place the first time around? I thought that the best way to find the answers to these questions and the real reasons why pilots fail check rides was to ask applicants during the post-flight briefing, whether they pass or fail, it didn't matter, what would they have done differently in order to have a better outcome during the check ride. The research showed me three troublesome findings. The first finding was that of all the pilots that failed the check ride, 91% of them were knowledgeable and proficient. And only 9% failed because they were neither knowledgeable nor proficient in certain tests. The second finding was that of all the pilots that did pass the first time, about 72% of them admitted that if the check ride lasted any longer, they might have failed because they were getting very close to their performance limits. The third finding was that most of the pilots, including the ones that passed, were doubtful that they were going to make it through the check ride. That in itself is a sad thing, my friends. These findings led me to an amazing discovery. 9 stressors were identified, but more important is that all the stressors contribute to create an extremely damaging condition, which is out of control stress. This condition, in some cases, is so damaging that you can almost perceive how the subconscious mind of the pilot stays outside the testing room, or what's worse, he waved goodbye from the ramp as the pilot departed for the flight test. Although almost every pilot knows how stressful a check ride is, the real causes of stress affecting pilots during check rides and how to avoid or manage such stressful situations have remained untouched for the longest time, until now. Today, you'll be shown what the stressors are and how to manage or avoid them altogether. This stressful condition has been lightly defined as checkritis or pressure, and what is worse, accepted as a normal condition when taking checkrides. The reason why almost all pilots pass the second time is simple: less stress. Let's begin with the definition of stress that applies here. According to Merriam-Webster's dictionary, stress is an emotional factor that causes bodily or mental tension. And my friends, in order to have a successful outcome during a checkride, you need your body and especially your mind to be in sync. That's why I call this video the psychology of the checkride. And it has nothing to do with the stick and rudder side of the house. It's my humble opinion that the culprit in hiding stress as the main cause of failure is the notice of disapproval, the infamous pink slip. If we audit all the notices of disapproval, the great majority of them list only 3 basic reasons for failure. Regardless of the narrative, either the pilot did not know something or did not perform properly a given procedure or maneuver, or exhibited poor judgment while making aeronautical decisions in certain areas during the checkride. However, that is not always correct. There's more than meet the eye here. These are only the symptoms, and we as flight instructors and pilots concentrated on treating them instead of finding the sickness.